Hey, thank you so much for watching, listening. I have a cool guest that I'm eager to introduce to you and eager for you to get to know. His name is Brian Noble. Hello, Brian.
Hey,
thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, where are you from?
I am from Spokane, Washington, the dry side of the state.
Yeah, and the conservative side.
And the conservative side, exactly right. Exactly right.
Were you born and raised there?
I was actually raised in Yakima, Washington, which is central Washington, and it's actually a desert right in the middle. A lot of people don't realize that. And because of irrigation, there's great agriculture all through that area. So, yeah.
And growing up there, was it kind of a small town?
It was. It was a town of like one stoplight, 2,000 people, raised on a farm with vineyards, cattle, all that kind of stuff. And so, it's like, shoot, get the pickup kind of thing,
Yeah, that's where you were raised.
That's where I was raised.
Huh. So your dad's a farmer?
My dad is a farmer and a small business owner, and they're in their 70s now, so he's retired. But so we still have vineyards there, and they're raising goats right now. We never raised goats as a kid. We usually did cattle, but I guess goats are in right now.
Vineyard and cattle. So like vineyard for like wine and stuff or what?
Ours were Concord grapes. So they're like for Welch's grape juice.
Yeah. And then cattle, what kind?
We did a lot of like beef cattle. And so then my step family, they had dairies and they had that kind of stuff.
Oh,
so
that's heavy duty
a lot of milk.
Work.
Yeah.
So like how many head of cattle?
Ours was a kind of a smaller farm, like, 50 head to 100 head of cattle.
Yeah.
Just kind of a 50-acre farm. Yeah.
So did you do all that stuff too? Like cattle, branding, all that?
Well, I would say I thought I did. As an adult, I realized I did a lot less than I thought I did as a kid, So, I would help my dad out. My parents are divorced, so it was like every other weekend on the farm. And then in my mom's house, it was in town, but in town's basically on the farm too. So, I mean, it's not much of a difference.
Yeah.
So I took care of well, in my mind, took care of the farm when I was there, helped out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so then what'd your mom do?
My mom worked at Welch's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So she was a secretary there for like 30 years and ran the plant, kind of that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I have a sister, a stepbrother, and a half sister. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And in the lineup, where are you?
I'm the middle, I guess. In that, my sister's older than I am. My stepbrother's a week older than me, and then my half sister's 10 years younger.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what in school, high school, did you do activities, anything?
So I was Grandview Greyhound, and that was this high school, and I was the band geek of all band geeks. I was the drum major. I directed the band. I played the trombone. I led the marching, yelled the commands. So I have a voice that if we need to go out and yell at something, I mean, I can grab attention.
And you like doing all that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved being in band. It was fun.
What'd you like about it?
I just love the teamwork and then producing something together, right? So, and just working through that and being able to yell at people,
Tell them what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And did you grow up playing instruments?
Yeah. So I grew up playing the trombone since 6th grade. And then,
And that's the one that slides?
Yeah, it slides. Yeah, the slide.
Huh.
Yeah.
So trombone, do you have to do, here's my question. So trumpets, I think you always have to do your lips in a certain way.
Right.
Like different notes for,
Right.
You have to do the same for a trombone?
Yeah, so trombone, you have different octaves for your lips, right? So you can play different notes on the same position, and then you tune each position because there's no like second position's not marked or something. You have to kind of just tune.
Slide it to the right place.
Right.
Huh.
And tune it with the band.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Do you still play the trombone?
I haven't played it for a while.
For a little while?
So our church, they have an orchestra for like Easter, and they're always trying to get me to play. But I typically don't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So when did you start doing all the Jesus stuff?
So I actually was struggling with alcohol when I was 12, and I had struggled with same-sex attraction when I was about 12, and all that was coming in and pushing on my life. I was very suicidal, and I had moved to Spokane to go to ITT Tech. And what happened was a friend interrupted a suicide attempt, a non-Christian friend. And I was like, God, if there's got to be a better way to this. And my grandma, she was an Assemblies of God pastor, had sent me a birthday card with like an address in it of a church. And she says, you need to go to this church. And I found that card in a pile of stuff. I called that church and I went there. Well, they thought I was a Christian kid, right? Because they knew my grandparents.
Yeah.
They didn't know all the things I was going through. And so they kind of plugged me in right away. And then they realized this kid knows nothing, right? He hasn't gone to church. I didn't even know where the book of John was at that point.
Sure.
And so Mark ID led me to the Lord and I was baptized. And my life has never been the same since then. Alcohol, I was free from that.
Yeah.
And everything else just began to fall off. And
Yeah.
of course, there's the sanctification part that
Sure.
stuff works out. But a lady named June Wyrick, right off the bat, she's passed away from cancer now, took me into our local prison and said, tell your testimony. Now, June was like, I don't know, very tall, and I was only 18, and I thought she was a very beautiful woman. So we would go in there, and all the guys would come out to see June. I thought they were coming out to see me, but, you know, I would share my testimony, and then she would pray with them.
Yeah.
And then, and so right away, I just got put right into ministry.
Wow.
Sharing my testimony.
Wow. And how'd that play out for your mom and dad?
Well, my mom and stepdad, it was very interesting. It took a lot of years for them to kind of come around. My mom said this, Brian, you can follow Jesus, but you will always be a Republican. I mean, that's where my mom was at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she had a bad taste kind of through the holiness movement with her parents being pastors.
Yeah.
And she had a bad taste in her mouth from that. And so she was really leery. But what I'm so excited about is, like, since I started writing books and I started, you know, all this kind of stuff, she's like, going to church every week, which is a miracle.
Yeah.
And sometimes they travel, so they go online to the church where I pastor right now.
Yeah.
And she just really is connecting with the Lord. She's talking about her prayer life. She's talking about reading devotions. She's talking about those kind of things. My dad still, he's struggled for a lot of years over the divorce and still struggles to this day, but he loves Jesus and brings up Jesus. It's just, you know, he's just not as plugged in as I would hope he would be.
Yeah.
So.
And your siblings, where are they on that whole thing?
So my sister, she lives in Seattle.
Yeah.
Anyway, she lives in Seattle, and I don't know. It's between her and the Lord, but I believe she loves Jesus.
Sure.
My stepbrother at this point, I don't think he knows who Jesus is.
Yeah.
And my half sister, I think, has a walk with the Lord.
Yeah.
But very,
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So married, you have kids. What's that?
Yeah, I have. I've been married for 25 years.
Wow.
And I'll say this: the first 4 years of our marriage were hell on earth. Next 7 years were purgatory. I don't even believe in purgatory, but I was there. And the last 13 years, we've been best friends.
Nice.
And so there's this transition of that, just moving through that friendship. I always tell people, if you give up before you're 11, you've quit too soon.
Yeah.
Because there's just a formation together that you have, and it does. For some of us, we're slower at getting there.
Yeah.
I have my oldest son's married and I have a grandchild.
Wow.
And yeah, Theodore, that is fun. He's 1 year old. Isabella is special needs. She's never walked or talked, has a trach and G-tube.
Yeah.
And then we have Gideon. He's born on April 1st. He's 18. And he's a prankster. And so I teach him peacemaking, and he'll be like, mom and I, or my wife and I will be like arguing. He's like, isn't the cross big enough? I'm like, if you say that again, I'm going to nail you to the cross. You know, those kind of things. And then we have Gabriel. He is our little angel. I just say, Gabe, clean your bedroom. It'll be my pleasure to clean my bedroom. I don't know where this kid comes from, but he does his homework. He cleans his bedroom. He's just a good kid.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And hobbies, what do you do to relax?
We do skiing. We like to ski as a family. We like to do boating. We rent the boat. We don't own the boat, but we like to go out on the lakes and hang out, go bike rides. Like, there's a Hiawatha Trail just between Idaho and Montana. It's all downhill. It's my type of bicycling.
Yes.
And it's like 12 miles downhill, and then they bust you back up the hill. That's my kind of thing right there.
That's great.
And you go over all these like old railroad trellis things, you know, like, and through tunnels. It's really fun.
Huh. That sounds totally cool. And where do you ski?
We like Mount Spokane, even though it's the, what would you call it, the redneck ski resort. It's cost effective.
Sure.
And it's got some good slopes on it. So, but there's like 5 ski resorts within an hour.
Serious?
Yeah, there's Schweitzer, 49.
Serious?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Huh. So how long have you been skiing?
I started in 6th grade, stopped in 6th grade, started again in my 40s.
Huh.
Yeah.
And what do you like to ski? Do you like blues, groomers, moguls,
So this is
cliffs?
like, I like to ski with my youngest son because he goes about my speed, but now he's faster than I. And it adds to my prayer and faith life because I barely make it down the mountain just praying. And he's just like, oh.
You wear a helmet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You need to wear a helmet.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, because I'm kind of getting almost 50, so.
Yeah, and it'd be bad if you hit your head.
Exactly. Exactly.
I understand that. So do you like to read at all?
I do like to read.
What do you like to read?
I would say like a lot of my reading is in the area of politics, which is kind of, I don't know, unique. So I love a lot of the founders' writings. And then I also like the area of anything that really encourages our faith. So I think a lot of times, like, when we look like uprooting anger by Bob Jones, I love it because he's written it in such a way it's just really practical, or where we begin to understand like Scripture can transform us from the inside out. And in like this, one of my latest books I've written, I talk about proclaiming that Scripture out loud instead of just keeping it in your heart, which I know is close to your heart as well. And so like challenging people, like read that out loud, say that personally over your life and over the situation to help mold you and shape you. So those are the stuff I've enjoyed reading. I was reading Praying Christian just before today, and just reading through that.
And favorite parts of the Bible you like to read?
My favorite parts of the Bible would probably either be Romans or James. I just like practical stuff, and so those are my favorite things.
Not Job.
You know what? Job at the beginning and the end is encouraging. Just pull out the middle. The middle part.
With all those friends are like friends. That's cool. Very cool. Well, thank you, Brian. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you so much of course, you need to subscribe. Obviously, you need to subscribe. And hit the notification bell right there. It'll keep you posted when we have new content. I have a really good joke for you, but before I ask this joke or tell you the joke, I have a question. Think about this question, answer it for me in the little comments or whatever. What is your favorite thing to cook or eat? You're like, that's kind of random. I know, right? And I think that's actually good. It's good to have random. And here is your joke. These jokes are fantastic as sarcasm. Why would a pig dressed in black never get bullied? Because Batman has sworn to protect Gotham. So stupid.
No, but it works.
I know, you're like, oh my gosh. Well, next week will be so much better.